Good morning, I'm Angelo Castro III.
I'm Angela, and we are the Castros.
We bring you the news.
And the views that make you think.
Sometimes you agree.
Sometimes we don't.
This is News and Views.
And here are today's headlines.
Senate President Tito Soto is already under criticism from the minority bloc just 1 week into his term.
Congressman Kiko Barzaga is facing a possible ethics complaint over unethical conduct in the House of Representatives.
Agriculture Secretary Francisco Chu Laurel Jr. says Congressman Saldico forced him to grant fish import allocations to 3 companies.
Coaches, players, the Board of Managing Directors, and members of the media gathered yesterday for the press conference marking the start of the UAAP's 80th season.
The House Committee on Appropriations has started deliberating the proposed 2026 budget of the Office of the President. Let's watch this.
Your Excellency, if you would like to respond po.
Yes, I waive the privilege, sir.
You waive?
Yes.
We now recognize Minority Leader Congressman Antonio Tenio.
Maraming salamat, Mr. Chair. Magandang umaga po sa Office of the Vice President at sa Vice President. Well, unang tanong po ay kaugnay sa presentation na binigay ng Vice President. Napansin ko po roon nasa budget na 903.4 million for 2025. Bagaman hindi pa po tapos ang taon, ang obligation rate po ay 34.3% lamang at ang disbursement rate ay 66.8%. So nasa kalagitnaan po tayo ng taon, pero mukhang mababa po yung obligation rate. Ano po ang paliwanag dito?
Yes, marami kaming procurement na tumagal. Hindi siya nasimulan by January. Madam Chair, yung procurement. So maraming mga procurement na June, July, August na nasimulan.
May dahilan po ba kung bakit June, July, August na nasimulan ang mga proyekto?
Madam Chair, dahil kailangan marami pong mga attachments na nire-require para sa procurement, and lahat po ng mga documents na yun ay hindi po siya nakukuha ng 1-2 araw lamang.
So, middle of the year pa po na naisaayos ang requirements for bidding. Parang ganun po. Tama po ba ang intindi ko?
Yes, Madam Chair.
Yes, thank you. Okay. Ngayon, mabalik po tayo sa last August 8, 2024, nag-issue po ng Notice of Disallowance ang COA, Commission on Audit, sa 73.28 million na halaga ng confidential funds for 105 activities supposedly held by the Office of the Vice President from December 13 to December 31. Sabi ng COA ay wala raw accomplishment reports na naipakita or sinubmit ang Office of the Vice President para dito at inaatas na o inuutos na ibalik ang pera ng Vice President ni Gina Acosta bilang Special Disbursing Officer at ni Julieta Villa del Rey bilang Chief Accountant. Mag-iisang taon na po, ayon sa COA rules ay may 6 months po para mag-appeal. Ano na po ang status ng Notice of Disallowance na ito?
Madam Chair, I suggest that the Congressman ask this during the hearing of the Commission on Audit.
Madam Chair, I'm asking the question now from the Office of the Vice President.
Madam Chair, this is a status of documents inside the Office of the Commission on Audit. So it has to be the Commission on Audit who will answer what is happening to this notice of disallowance.
Nagsubmit po ba ng appeal ang Office of the Vice President sa notice of disallowance?
Kung yung Congressman Tinio, kung ang notice of disallowance was rectified by COA, wala na po yun. Pero kung yung notice of disallowance ay meron na silang final adjudication, and then merong order yon na final yung notice of disallowance. So, for your information, I will check with COA and get the records and give it to you. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Well, next question po ay kaugnay po sa notice of disallowance. Ang sabi po kasi ng COA, December 30, yung mga 105 activities na inilunsad dun sa mga dinisilaw na activities ay nangyari between December 13 to December 31. And yet, sa mga nakaraang hearing ay napag-alaman po na December 20 pa po na ilabas ang SARO at na-withdraw yung 125 million. Kaya nga sinasabing nagastos ito in 11 days from December 20 to December 31. So ang tanong lang po natin, ano po ang paliwanag doon sa nakapamahagi na kayo ng mga sinasabing reward money noong December 13 pa lamang, samantalang hindi pa po lumalabas ang pera ng confidential funds. Pwede po bang may paliwanag yon?
Madam Chair, this is the subject of an impeachment trial, and I would not like to discuss the defense for the impeachment trial.
Representative
Chair,
Nino,
wala
please
naman pong-
proceed with the next question.
Madam Chair, I would just like to note na wala pong impeachment trial sa kasalukuyan. Madam Chair, in fact, it is archived in the Senate. No? Okay, so next question na po. No? Lumabas din po sa nakaraang mga hearing sa House na nag-submit po ang Office of the Vice President ng 2,670 accomplishment reports at kasama po para po sa liquidation ng 500 million pesos worth of confidential funds under the Office of the Vice President. At ayon sa investigasyon ay 1,322 out of 1,992 names in the OVP ARs submitted to the PSA have no birth records. So kasama po dito yung mga pangalang Mary Grace Piatos, Fernando Tempura, meron pang Shell Jokno. No?
Kindly wind up your question.
Again, pwede po bang mapaliwanag ng Vice Presidente kung bakit ganon ang sinabmit at bakit walang supporting documents ang mga accomplishment reports na ito?
Madam Chair, again, first, if the committee would like to ask how the Commission on Audit conducts its audit, I request that all the questions be propounded during the hearing of the Commission on Audit. Second, the subject confidential funds is a matter in impeachment proceedings, which is archived, but there is a pending motion for reconsideration in the Supreme Court. I cannot discuss defense strategy. Number 3, I cannot discuss intelligence operations and cannot explain how intelligence operations are done without compromising national security.
Thank you, Madam Chair. My next question.
Congressman Tenyo, last question.
Opo, last question.
Please wind up.
Opo. So, napabalita po no na mula July of last year hanggang sa kasalukuyan ay meron pong 13 trips ang Vice President overseas, no? So mula po sa Germany, Japan, Hong Kong, Netherlands, Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia, Australia, South Korea, Kuwait, Paris, at several po sa Netherlands. Umaabot po sa at least 60 days po na on leave ang presidente, at marami po pero hindi lahat ay sinasabing personal leave, no? So sa mga trips po na ito, ilan po ang naging personal leave?
That was the ongoing hearing on the proposed 2026 budget of the Office of the Vice President. Present herself is the Vice President, Sara Duterte, being asked by Congressman Tino. All right. In other news, the National Unity Party is set to file an ethics complaint against former member Cavite 4th District Representative Kiko Barzaga. NUP Chair and House Deputy Speaker Ronaldo Puno said Barzaga violated the House Code of Conduct by using his personal social media accounts to attack government institutions. The party also cited possible violations of Republic Act 6713 or the Code of Conduct and Ethical Standards for Public Officials, pointing to posts described as obscene, abusive, and meant to erode public trust.
He is not well. But we cannot allow this behavior to be unresponded to. It causes damage, not just to the people around him, not just to his family, not just to his party. It causes damage to the country and the society as a whole.
Puno also claimed that Barzaga went to the office of House Majority Leader Sandro Marcos to seek support for his bid to become House Speaker.
What is this? Diba? Yan ba matinong, you know, it is crazy.
And to provide insights about the recent developments over at the Senate, we have Professor Ed Montaya, President and CEO of the Political Economic Elemental Research and Strategist, or PEERS. Good morning, Prof. Thanks for joining us again.
Good morning. And
all right, it's Angela and Angelo for News and Views, Prof. Of course, ang dami pong nangyari over the week. Unahin ko na lang po yung yesterday's announcement, completion po ng Independent Commission, ICI po ng Presidente regarding po sa mag-uimbestiga ng mga anomalous flood control project. What are your thoughts on that po, sa mga members?
well, of course, I'm inclined to think that the members actually were chosen carefully, no, by the president, and the background of each member speaks for itself, no. Obviously, I remember Secretary Singson to have started the monitoring system in the DPWH. I've been working with different foreign funding institutions for a long time, and I know for a fact that during that time, that was one of the requirements, or one of the recommendations made by our foreign funding partners,
Right.
Especially those providing us official development assistance, or ODA money, na okay, fine, they will be helping us fund our infrastructure projects, pero dapat may monitoring. So when there was this hearing, when former Secretary Bonoan was asked kung namo-monitor nila yan, at ang sabi niya wala silang way to monitor it,
Right.
medyo nagtaka ako kasi meron na yun nung time pa ni Secretary Singson. And for occasions, of course, the qualification of former Associate Justice Reyes speaks for itself, and also forgot the name of
Rosana Fajardo?
Rosana
SGV.
Fajardo has been is very much what needed, in the independent body, kasi we have to follow the money, so to speak.
Yeah.
So I'm inclined to think that the body was thought well, no, by the president.
Yeah, madami nagsasabi very qualified naman daw members, pero may another school of thought na sana ginawang mas generic ang body, similar to yung construct ng the defunct PCGG, yung Commission on Good Government, para as a whole, yung mandate to combat corruption which is escalating, hindi limited sa infrastructure daw. Ano thoughts niyo po dito?
Alam mo kasi, alam na natin kung ano nangyari sa PCGG. In fact, for the longest time, it's been there, no? And how many years have passed since it was created? And hindi naman yan permanenteng departamento supposedly.
Yes.
Pero ano na nangyari, no? So, pangalawa, magke-create ka na naman ng another graft and corruption body. In fact, pati yung PACC, sinasabi nila, bakit daw ang tawag dito, inabolisyon. Actually, meron ka ng Deputy Executive Secretary for Legal. Yun ang yan, no? In fact, yung PACC, lalo na nung panahon ng dating Pangulo, binago nila yung executive order. Alam na alam ko yan because I've been invited a number of times by the late former chairman of PACC, Dante Jimenez.
Yes.
Ang nagagawa lang ng PACC before is investigate. No, and it's not even made under the office of the president anymore. It was made under the office of the executive secretary. So especially bago makagalaw ang PACC as it was before, wala. So sa madalit sabi, wala rin nangyayari. So in other words, I'm inclined to think that the reason why there has to be a body such as ICI is to precisely zero in on this very important and I have to say very tragic issue.
Well, aabangan na lang natin, Prof, 'di ba, kung sino-sino yung kanilang irerekomenda na makakasuhan dito upon their investigation. We have yet to know other details like saan sila mag-opisina, paano yung hearing na gagawin nila, etc. But moving forward, Prof, let's talk about also what's happening in the Senate. 1 week after na ma-appoint na Senate President si Tito Sotto, may kuna naman tayong naririnig. What are your thoughts on this? Ano bang basa natin dito? Bakit nagkakaganito ang Senado?
Sa totoo lang, hindi ko maintindihan kung iniisip bang mabuti ng mga nagpa-plot, no, itong magiging implikasyon nito. No? Kapag pinalitan nila agad-agad, no, medyo nakakahiya yan kasi the shortest Senate President that served ever, no, would be this particular time that Senate President Sotto will be serving as Senate President. Now, ito ay nakakahiya hindi lang para kay Senate President Sotto. In fact, mas nakakahiya ito doon sa mga nagpa-plot. Kasi anong purpose nila? Anong objective nila for replacing him? So for obvious reasons, ito ay selfish interest. So in other words, wala pa hindi mo pa nga na-measure yung performance ng isang Senate bagong halal ulit. Senate President Sotto, at alam naman natin kung babalikan natin ng kasaysayan, siguro wala nang mas tatagal pa bilang senador, no, kaysa kay Senate President Sotto. So kahit pa sabihin natin na siya ay dating host ng noontime show, yung experience pa lang, kaya nga siya ang go-to person when it comes to Senate rules.
That's right.
Kasi matindi na yung, mahaba na yung kanyang experience as a senator.
But, so ang tanong dito, Prof, kasi yung hearing, no, yung nangyari, where the minority came out swinging against Senator Sotto, do you think this was a calculated move to try to rally public influence towards the minority, hopefully to build their case ni Senator Alan Peter Cayetano against Tito Sotto?
That's kind of obvious, no. But the problem really is, no, whether the public will still buy, no, this kind of reasoning. I mean, siguro ako lang ito, no, and I hope ako lang ito. Pero kung ang publiko naiisip din yung naiisip ko, siguro sabi nga nila, tell me who your friends are, and
I'll tell you who you are.
I'll tell you who you are. So may credibility pa ba itong grupo na ito? I'm really sorry, no, but I mean, nakita naman na natin yung mga public hearings na nangyari. Mula ang daming kakaiba doon, yung mga Yung mga simpleng linya na, safe ka na, o biglang hindi pala safe. Yung mga simpleng linya na, kailan ba kayo nagsimula sa DPWH? 2016. Tapos biglang yung kanilang affidavit, biglang 2016 onwards, no? Yung pala, yun ang instruction ng Blue Ribbon Committee at that time. Gumawa kayo ng affidavit, no, na ito ang nasasakupang time period, no, 2022 onwards. Di parang sinabi mo, ang imbestigahan lang natin itong nakaupong gobyerno, institutional, systemic itong issue na ito.
Ayun nga I was gonna ask you nga, let's be transparent here. Ano ba sa tingin mo yung pinaka obvious, selfish reason why would they want, a change of Senate leadership in a week, in a span of 1 week? But you've mentioned it already. Dagdag ko na lang din po, Prof, yung sa House of Representatives. Ano ba sa tingin nyo din yung nangyayari naman doon? Meron din mga bulong-bulungan din ng change of leadership doon
Alam mo, hindi naman mawawala yan. Sa totoo lang, Angela, no? I mean, I've been observing Philippine politics the whole of my career, no? It's not unusual, no, that there will be a sudden change of leadership in whichever house, no? But the thing is really, before such change happens, the question is, who is behind? That's the first thing that you have to ask, no? Second, who is the one who's supposed to replace who? Kasi kung yung i-replace mo, hindi mo kayang, lahat naman yan dispensable, ano? Pero kung yung ipapalit mo, mas questionable doon sa papalitan, medyo problematic yan. I mean, we've heard several names. I mean, if you're going to ask me, I've seen many of them, and Representative Tiangco would have done a good job, except that at the end of the day, the decision is with the members of the House of Representatives. And I've been hearing medyo hindi ganun kadami yung natutuwa sa performance ni Representative Tiangco. So, ako, outsider ako . So, I wouldn't really know whether the way he's been performing as a member of the House of Representatives is good. Whether you like it or not, it's a collegial body, and so you will be judged by your peers. Okay? Yung pangalawang sinabi nila, si Representative Albi Benitez. Ano bang background ni Representative Albi Benitez? No? I'm sure, of course, that everyone knows, especially in the media, no, online gambling ang background ni Representative Albi Benitez, and I think he also figured with this case of Arnie Teves, no?
Yeah.
Though he has been vehemently denying it. And now you have Kiko Barsaga, no, going around wanting to be speaker, no? Nakita naman na natin, tanungin natin, ano bang background ni Representative Barsaga? Talaga bang napakagaling representative ba yan? O hindi ba nepo baby yan?
Totoo.
No?
That is an ongoing question actually.
That's right. Saan siya graduate? Ano ang mga accomplishments niya? Kasi again, whether you like it or not, before you throw mud to someone, no, make sure that you are clean, no, or at least enough to stand scrutiny, so to speak. Wala pa ako nakikitang ganun so far.
All right, sige. Marami pa tayong pag-uusapan, Prof, but unfortunately we don't have much time. Balikan ka na lang po namin sa susunod pang mga kabanata na I'm sure it's going to be an eventful process. Maraming salamat po sa inyong oras. Opo, maraming salamat po sa inyong oras, Professor Ed Montayo, President and CEO of the Political Economic Elemental Researchers and Strategists, or PEERS.
Right, Senate President Tito Sotto found himself at odds with minority members, sparking heated debates over several issues. Here's the report.
1 week into his term, Senate President Tito Sotto is already clashing with members of the minority. At a press conference, Senator Rodante Marcoleta was first to react strongly to Sotto's statement in a Wednesday interview on 1PH's Sa Totoo Lang program regarding the affidavit of Sara and Curly Discaya.
Kasi may suspetsa kami na inedit yung affidavit .
Okay.
So not only that, we have to verify the statements.
Although Sotto did not name anyone, Marcoleta felt alluded to.
Paano kayo nagsuspetsa? Ano po ang ginamit ninyong batayan at pagsususpetsahan ninyo na maring inedit yung affidavit.
The two faced each other in plenary where Soto clarified that his remark was his personal opinion. They also debated on whether the Discayas should be placed under the Witness Protection Program. Soto opposed it.
Magkakaroon ng immunity from criminal prosecution. So kung natatakot sila sa kanilang security, billion-billion ang pera nila eh. Ang dami nilang pwedeng bayaran security guard eh. Kahit 1,000 security guard, kaya nila eh. Bakit kailangan ang gobyerno?
Tension also flared between Soto and Senator Bato de la Rosa. This stemmed from Soto's earlier interview where he was asked about trolls branding him a lapdog of House Speaker Martin Romualdez in connection with questions on the custody of former DPWH Assistant District Engineer Bryce Hernandez. Soto responded, saying, "That's the minority's gimmick." He added that trolls don't know or understand it, so let them be. Let them die of bitterness. De la Rosa shot back.
Ang Senado po, hindi po ito noon-time TV show na puro gimmick ang ating titikap dito.
When I said namatay sila na sama ng loob, we were addressing the trolls.
Hindi po kami mapatay sa sama ng loob dahil hindi na po masama ang loob namin dahil tanggap na namin na kami ang minority.
Na-misunderstood nila completely.
Minority Leader Alan Peter Cayetano also questioned the handling of Hernandez, who was detained at the PNP Custodial Center after testifying in the House, then moved to Pasay City Jail and later returned to the Senate without plenary approval.
Yung mismong witness, siya nasusunod eh. Sinabi niya dun sa House eh, wag niyo na ako ibalik sa Senate, hindi siya binalik. So yes, initially, the issue was not where. The issue is not where to detain him. The issue is who has authority and ano ang rules natin.
Malinaw sa rules natin eh. A witness cited in contempt may be ordered by detained in such a place as may be designated by the committee alone or, andun yung or with the concurrence of the Senate President by either one detention order. So it's the Senate President has the power to do that.
Hernandez previously testified in the House linking Senators Jinggoy Estrada and Joel Villanueva to anomalies in flood control projects. Both senators, members of the minority, lashed out.
Hindi ko alam kung anong mararamdaman nyo kung nasa sapatos ko po kayo. Kahit si Satanas, hindi papayag dun sa script niya. Tatanggap ka ng suhol sa simbahan.
Kahit hindi totoo yung sinasabi niya? Na walang basihan. 30% commission daw. I'm sorry. Strike that from the record. May senador lang ang gusto nilang ipako sa krus. Bakit yung mga ibang mga politiko? Dahil, porket masikat kami?
The Senate Blue Ribbon Committee will resume its investigation Thursday, where CCTV footage is expected to be presented, allegedly showing a bribe being delivered to a Senate staff member.
We'll be back with more stories after the break. Keep it here on One News. Good morning. You're still watching News and Views here on One News. Now, let's head back to the ongoing hearing on the House Committee, Appropriations Committee, or Appropriations for the proposed 2026 national budget for the OVP. Let's listen in.
The reason why we have comments from the Office of the Commission on Audit is because of system and improvement in processes. So these are basically documentations that the Commission on Audit require of transactions. And we have already updated our manual of operations in the OVP to reflect comments from the auditors.
Thank you very much, ma'am. And if you can, if possible, if that is not classified, you can give a list to the committee para kami na po magbigay doon sa minority. Thank you very much.
The manual of operations, sir? Okay, sir. Let me just discuss this. with the executive committee. Kasi pinaghirapan din namin dito, Sir Gawin, baka kopyahin lang din ng minority.
It's your prerogative, Madam Vice President.
But
Madam
in
Ko?
relation to that po, Mr. Chair,
Okay.
we would be interested in the report kung ano po yung 3.8 million pesos that required correction po doon sa COA audit report in 2024. Would that be possible po, Mr. Chair?
Madam Chair, as I said, all questions about all documents inside the Commission on Audit is best to be directed to the auditors or the representatives of COA in the budget hearings. Thank you.
But with all due respect, to follow up that po, the COA specifically sought correction because po may nakita pong 3.8 million pesos that is not accounted for in the submission by the OVP. So the burden of the submission is actually with the following agency. So, which is why in the exercise of legislative oversight, we would like to be enlightened kung ano po yung error na po ito. And tama po, para maiwasan in the future, a report po on what it is would be appreciated. So, ang question ko po is, would that be possible po, Mr. Chair?
Madam Chair, usually the Commission on Audit, the auditors review documents, and sometimes they do not see the attachments in the correct submissions. Sometimes the attachments that are required are found in other submissions and reports. And these attachments are required by auditors in every report. That is why right now we already have a checklist. If this is the process, if this is the project, there is a checklist on the attachments because auditors review the documents and the auditors require the attachment of documents, and sometimes these documents are not attached to a specific report. So what we did, Madam Chair, is create a checklist and to improve the system. The personnel from the Office of the Vice President go through the checklist before they submit.
Okay. Anything else, Congresswoman Ko?
Just to clarify, therefore, dahil po naibigay yung explanation na yon, is the Office of the Vice President explaining that this is the explanation for that 3.8 million necessity for correction?
This is the explanation why we have an unmodified opinion. Wala po silang nakitang nawawala. Nawawala po yung papel dahil naka-attach siya sa ibang document. At ang gusto ng COA ay specific yung mga dokumento na ina-attach per submission.
In the interest of time, ako na lang mag-volunteer niyan na Congresswoman Ko. Hingin ko sa COA yung detalya ng 3.8 kung gusto mo. I promise to give it to you in the least possible time. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for that response. My next question would be in relation po, and we're asking this question po, Mr. Chair, dahil kung may necessity for correction for this 2024 audit report, and then meron pong other audit reports in the past that have found that there are deficiencies and delays, gusto nating hindi na po mangyari siya. Can I ask Mr. Chair, what assurance do the people have na sumusunod na ngayon ang Office of the Vice President sa guidelines on disbursement and other proper fiscal procedures, given that there were reports last year that hindi po ito na sunod po according to procurement guidelines po?
Mr. Chair, again, with all due respect with my colleague, the Office of the Vice President on modified
Order, please. You're not acknowledged.
Please wait to be acknowledged by the chair. We'll let the
Is that the last question, Madam Vice President?
We'll let the Madam Vice
you have the option
President
to
respond.
Respond or not?
My apologies, Vice Chair Pepito Alvarez. May I request for an orderly conduct of the hearing for the members to please wait to be acknowledged by the chair before you make a statement. Thank you very much. The floor is now with the Vice President to respond to the question of Representative Go.
Yes, Madam Chair, as I said earlier, I don't know if everyone heard it. Every time we receive a comment from an auditor, we update our manual of operations.
In order, no.
Right, for those who just tuned in, that was the ongoing committee hearing on proposed budget for the Office of the Vice President.
All right, the Agriculture Department will roll out the Benting Bigas Meron Na to public transport workers starting today, September 16. And to talk more about this, we have DA Deputy Spokesperson, Assistant Secretary Joyce Panlilio. Good morning, ASEC. Thank you for joining us.
And as revealed to the good government.
ASEC, of course, first question is, how many is expected to benefit from this initiative?
Based on our initial list, we are expecting 57,000 tricycle, jeepney, and bus drivers to benefit for this rollout of the Benting Bigas Meron Na for the transport sector.
And paano po yung system nito ng pagbibigay? No? Is this tracked also? Or do they need a special card? Kasi, of course, ang agam-agam ng iba, baka may mga ilan daw sa mga LGU makinabang dito at lagyan daw ng mukha ang mga pag-claim ng bigas.
What we would require from them would be their IDs. For example, for tricycle drivers, they have tricycle permit, tricycle operator permit issued by the LGU. We also coordinated the Land Transportation and Franchise Regulatory Board, as well as the DOTR for the list of our beneficiaries for this rollout of the Benting Bigas Meron Na.
I understand ito po ay magkakaroon ng grand launch sa susunod na taon. Can you tell us more about this? Paano po, ano po yung road to achieve that goal?
For this rollout for the transport sector, our launch is today. We started with the Bureau of Animal Industry here in Quezon City, as well as we have it here at the Agribusiness Development Center in Quezon City, as well as in Cebu, Angeles City, and two municipalities and the city in Davao del Norte. But for next year, it's going to be for all already, not just for selected sectors of our country, but we will include other members, other members including, that would be a total of around 15 million households, or a total of 60 individuals for an average family of 4.
So you mentioned, ASEC, na it's gonna be open for all, no? So paano po magiging sistema dito? And also, do we have enough supplies for this Benting Bigas if you're going to open it up for all?
Yes, we are ensuring that we will have enough supplies. Right now, we have enough supplies for that. And we also asked for a budget from Congress for this. And we were given a budget of, for next year, at least we have already 10 million plus another, if I'm not mistaken, 8 or 9 million for that. For the purchase of rice from our local farmers, that would be through our National Food Authority to be distributed through the Food Terminal Incorporated. And of course, we are continuing also our interventions for our farmers to increase their productivity and to ensure that we have the supplies for this P20, since it is a directive from the President that we have to continue the expansion of distribution or sale of this Benting Bigas until the end of his term in 2028. So we will do everything to ensure that we will have enough supplies po.
Klaruhin ko lang, anong klaseng variety itong bigas na ito? And magkano po ang lugi ng gobyerno every time we purchase from the farmers?
It is well-milled rice po, around 25% broken. We usually buy palay at, for the wet palay, that's around 17 pesos, 17 to 18. And for the dry, we buy it at around 20 pesos per kilo. So, but we're selling at 20, plus we have transport, so transport or logistical costs for that. So we cannot say it's lugi because these are aging rice also that the NFA has to dispose. So medyo maliit lang naman din po siguro ito kaysa po masira din po siya sa storage.
Balikan ko lang po, ASEC, yung nabanggit po ninyo kanina, magkano po yung budget na hinihingi po natin for this program para po ma-roll out ito by 2026, yung grand launch po ninyo. And of course, I would also like to ask, magkano po yung nagastos na ng DA since nag-roll out po itong program na to?
Sorry po na nawala. Nag-Shopee po kayo on that
okay,
part.
ASEC. Alright. I was asking po, ASEC, I want to go back to dun sa part na magkano po yung budget na hinihingi po ninyo for the 2026 grand launch of this program nationwide. And of course, how much na rin po yung budget na nagastos po ng DA since nag-roll out po itong program na ito?
Yung initial budget po namin is we already have the 10 million pesos. We already spent 10 billion pesos.
10 billion.
We already 9 billion for 2024 starting. For this 2025 because we started it last May 2025. And for next year, we have around 18 billion, if I'm not mistaken.
ASEC, ang fear kasi ng iba din, no? Baka naman may mga grupo dyan or nagko-corpo sila in terms of buying the 20 peso na bigas tapos ibebenta ng mas mahal. Ano pong safeguards in place para maiwasan po ito?
We are launching a QR code coming October. So this is one way for us to monitor our beneficiaries and how many kilos that already been bought by our beneficiaries that are listed, because we have a list of our beneficiaries like our minimum wage workers for now. We have that. We also have our registry system for our farmers and fisherfolk. And for our transport sector, we also have a list that we asked, and because we coordinated with the LTFRB as well as with the local government units for the tricycle operators. And we will have with that QR code also a registration of all our beneficiaries when we roll it out in 2026.
So, linawin ko lang, ASEC, no? per person, one QR code each. Tama ba yan?
Yes po.
Okay.
Alright, ASEC, ganun din po, no? Ilan po yung total ng mga workers that we are looking at that is going to be benefiting, no? With this program. Kasama na rin po ba yung mga jeepney drivers, yung sa mga TODA, and kailan po yung timeline po natin mabigyan yung sector na yun?
Ang TODA po kasi we started today, as well as yung sa mga jeepney and the bus drivers. And we're done already launching for our fisher folk. We started that 2 weeks 2 weeks ago at least. And also for our farmers, we also started that. And we are continuing our sale to the vulnerable sectors such as the PWD, the solo parents and 4-piece beneficiary, and the senior citizen.
Well, ASEC, I remember last year, one of the reasons why ginawa po natin tong BBM na to, aside from the promise of the President, is also nakita natin yung marami pong stock po sa NFA warehouse. Ngayon po, kamusta po ngayon yung stock doon? Kasi para daw po hindi masira kaagad. So, kamusta po yung stock natin sa mga NFA warehouse natin?
We still have a lot of stocks at the moment, but we are actually moving it. That's why we are expanding the coverage and the distribution of our vending bigas. Meron na. But of course, the move of the government here is we want the restoration of the powers of the NFA, which would include having authorized NFA rice retailers all over the country. So we would be able to free up spaces in our warehouses all over the country. So that's also a priority legislative agenda of the Department of Agriculture, the amendment of the rice clarification law.
All right. Thank you so much for your time, DA Deputy Spokesperson, Assistant Secretary Joyce Panilio.
Senator Rodante Marcoleta stood firm, insisting the Discayas must be placed under the Witness Protection Program. According to Senator Marcoleta, the law clearly allows witnesses whose lives are under threat to be admitted into the program, something he says is evident in the case of the Discayas. But Justice Secretary Boying Remulla said the couple should first return the money they allegedly stole. Marcoleta countered that restitution is not a requirement under the Witness Protection Law.
Alam po ninyo, sa tamang pagkakataon, I'm going to confront the Secretary of Justice kung bakit niya sinabi yun. Sapagkat malinaw naman po sa batas. Kung titingnan po ninyo yung Section 3, isama na po ninyo yung Section 10 ng Republic Act 6981. Maliwanag po doon kung ano-ano ang mga requirements na kakailanganin para mapasa ilalim ng Witness Protection Program ang isang witness na nag-a-apply. Hindi po kasama doon yung restitution na kanyang binabanggit na magbabalik ka pa ng kung ano-ano sa gobyerno. Unang-una po, nasa pag-iimbestiga pa lang po tayo Kanino kukunin at paano i-determine yung halaga na ibabalik ng mga Diskaya kung sakasakali?
3 public works officials have been formally dismissed from service. They are former DPWH Assistant District Engineer Bryce Erickson Hernandez, Construction Section Chief JP Mendoza, and Accountant Juanito Mendoza. According to the Public Works Department, these officials from Bulacan 1st District were found guilty of grave misconduct, gross neglect of duty, and other offenses. The penalty includes perpetual disqualification from public office. Recall that Hernandez dropped the bomb about Senators Jingoy Estrada and Joel Villanueva allegedly receiving kickbacks in flood control projects.
Don't go away because we're not done yet. Please stay with us. You're still watching News and Views here on One News.
Agriculture Secretary Francisco Tiu Laurel Jr. said that Representative Zaldico forced him to grant fish import allocations to 3 companies. He disclosed this during Monday's House Committee on Appropriations budget hearing. Tiu Laurel said he refused the request, citing a fair allocation formula already in place. The DA chief also highlighted previous irregularities in fish landings at private ports, which allowed some firms to bypass standard procedures.
Ang rami kong tinanggal na listahan dahil maraming kalokohan. Sa totoo lang, nung panahon before my time sa importation ng isda. And ayoko nang sabihin kasi meron din isang congressman na humingi sa akin ng maraming allocation at hindi ko pinagbigyan ng isda. At ang pangalan nun, Zaldico.
Season 88 of the UAAP is about to begin, promising exciting basketball ahead. Mobile journalist Denise Valdesancho has the report.
It's UAAP Hoops season once again. Coaches, players, the board of managing directors, and the media came together yesterday for the press conference, kicking off the 88th season of the UAAP. The league finally revealed its 8 Season 88 correspondents, all homegrown from their respective schools, with 3 making a return this year. They are Frankie Buenvenida of Adamson, Vixie Burgos of Ateneo, Sophie Espiritu of De La Salle, Juliana Marasigan of FEU, Z. Luis of NU, Thea Franco of UE, Cheska Ramos of UP, and Sydney Oliva of UST. Meanwhile, Commissioner Jai Reyes announced a new measure aimed at improving officiating.
We would be miking up our referees, not yet for broadcast purposes, but for assessment and grading purposes of our referees.
Reyes also revealed changes in the enforcement of unsportsmanlike fouls.
All the unsportsmanlike fouls and technicals will not be counted in the accumulation, not unless we explicitly write through a formal memo to all the schools.
UAAP Season 88 opens this Friday with the ceremonies at the University of Santo Tomas, before the games begin on September 20 at the UST Quadricentennial Pavilion. Meanwhile, Volleyball action heats up at the FIVB Men's World Championship. Team Alas Pilipinas is set to face Egypt today at 5:30 p.m. at the Mall of Asia Arena. The national squad is determined to bounce back and hunt for a big win on home soil. Mobile journalist Denise Valdesancho. We are One News.
Filipino tennis ace Alex Ayala has climbed to number 57 in the Women's Tennis Association live rankings following her run at the Sao Paulo Open in Brazil. She exited the tournament in the quarterfinals, losing to Indonesia's Janice Tijen. Despite the loss, her performance was enough to improve her ranking, making her the top-seeded player in the upcoming Jingsha Open in China. The 20-year-old aims to claim her second WTA title of the season after winning the Guadalajara Open in Mexico.
In weather, Pag-asa is monitoring 2 low-pressure areas. The first LPA was spotted some 460 kilometers west of Coron, Palawan. It is unlikely to develop into a tropical depression. The second LPA was located 190 kilometers east-northeast of Huban, Sorsogon. Its chance of intensifying remains slim as of the moment. The LPAs are currently bringing scattered rains in the Bicol region, Central Visayas, Eastern Visayas, Aurora, Quezon, Rizal, Bulacan, Nueva Ecija, Quirino, and Nueva Vizcaya. Metro Manila and nearby areas may also experience rains due to the trough. Meanwhile, Habagat may trigger scattered rains over Zamboanga Peninsula, northern Mindanao, BARMM, and Soxargen. Easterlies are also bringing scattered rains over Cagayan Valley, Ilocos Region, and Cordillera Administrative Region. Ayan, so yun na yung mga hindi pa tapos. Supposedly next month, diba, yung LPA daw.
Tapos
dadami
pa by October.
Dahil sa La Nina effect, dadami ang bagyo. Pero weaker, pero mas frequent daw. So, hindi pa pwede sampay ang mga kababayan natin.
Right.
Babay.
And also, don't forget to tune in the ongoing hearing pa rin sa House Committee on Appropriations
OVP.
on the proposed budget for the Office of the Vice President, still here sa One News. Abangan niyo po yan.
Alright, and that wraps up today's episode of News and Views.
Join us again tomorrow. I'm Angela Lagunsad Castro.
I'm Angelo Castro III. We are One News.
All sides, all the time.